Hey everyone, welcome back to the Incredible India podcast series. I'm Taylor, and I'm joined by Sam.
It's good to be back, ready for another deep dive.
Today we are tackling something that feels like, well, a paradox in history. A city called Murshidabad.
And if that name doesn't ring a bell for you, you are not alone.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Between the early 1700s and the mid-1800s, this forgotten city was one of the wealthiest financial centers in the entire world.
We're talking about a capital that controlled more wealth than many European kingdoms. At one point, its revenue even exceeded the royal treasury of France.
And yet today, it's a historical footnote. That's the story we're getting into.
It really is. We're going to look at how this vanished capital rose to such incredible power.
And crucially, how precise, methodical colonial policies didn't just conquer it, but, systematically ensured its story was almost completely erased.
It's a classic case of the winners writing the history books. By reconstructing Murshidabad's golden age, we really challenge that old narrative that pre-colonial India was somehow unsophisticated.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The architect of all this prosperity.
It really comes down to one man initially, Nawab Murshid Quali Khan.
And he didn't start at the top, right? He arrived in 1700 as a revenue collector for the Mughals?
A pretty humble one, yes, but he was an administrative genius, an absolute visionary.
So what did he do first?
In 1704, he makes a huge move. He shifts the capital from Dhaka to this town, which he then renames after himself.
Murshidabad.
Exactly. And this wasn't just a change of address. He was strategically repositioning the economic heart of the entire province, the Suba.
He was basically carving out his own kingdom.
He was, while still paying this nominal tribute to the Mughal emperor in Delhi. He was building an independent powerhouse.
So how did he generate so much wealth so quickly?
2 words. Location. Location.
The Ganges River.
It was everything. You have to imagine the rivers back then were the highways. They were the arteries of all commerce.
And Murshidabad sat right at the junction.
A perfect choke point. It became the ultimate administrative toll booth connecting the massive agricultural heartlands with the Bay of Bengal and, the rest of the world.
So nothing moved without his say-so.
Pretty much. And that gave him a stranglehold on Bengal's most valuable industry.
Textiles.
And silk. The fabrics from Bengal were so incredibly fine that European nobles paid what the sources call astronomical prices for them.
Murshidabad silk was basically a global luxury brand.
It really was. But the key thing to understand is that this wealth wasn't an accident. It was built on Khan's administrative system.
Which was described as, fair and ruthless.
That's the perfect description. He had detailed village-level record-keeping. He cracked down on corruption. It created stability.
But if it was ruthless, wasn't there resistance?
Surprisingly little at first, because it was predictable. Merchants and weavers knew what they owed. The state wasn't going to just arbitrarily seize their property.
And that confidence allows people to invest and grow.
Exactly. It creates the perfect conditions for an economic boom.
Okay, let's talk about the scale of this boom, because the numbers are where this story becomes, frankly, a little unsettling.
They're staggering. During the 18th century, Murshidabad's Bengal Suba was collecting around 14 to 16 crores of rupees every year.
And just so you know, a crore is 10 million.
Right. So to put that 140 to 160 million rupees into perspective, that was more than the entire royal treasury of King Louis XIV's France at its absolute peak.
More than France.
And get this. The British East India Company's profits from all its operations in India.
All of them.
Rarely top 2 or 3 crores. Murshidabad was generating 5 times that amount.
So where was all this money going? What was it funding?
It was the financial backbone of the Mughal Empire. Huge sums of gold and silver were regularly sent north to Delhi from Murshidabad.
So Bengal was paying for the empire's military campaigns.
Absolutely. Emperor Aurangzeb's long, very expensive wars in the Deccan, they were almost entirely funded by Bengali gold. When Delhi's treasury ran dry, they called the Nawab.
Wow. So its reach was continental, but the trade was global.
Spanning 3 continents. You had the Dutch, French, British, Portuguese. They all had major trading posts there, fighting for access.
And it wasn't just Europe.
No, the connections to Southeast Asia were just as important. Bengali textiles were a prized luxury item, almost a form of currency, in courts from Malacca to Indonesia.
But the real mark of sophistication wasn't just the goods. It was the financial system itself.
Now you're talking. Murshidabad was a financial center on par with Amsterdam or London. It ran on a system of credit.
Using these hundreds.
Right. Which were basically bills of exchange. Paper notes backed by credit, issued by merchant bankers called mahajans.
And these were honored everywhere.
From Kabul to the Coromandel Coast, it was an incredibly advanced and trusted system.
And at the very top of that system were the Jiatseths.
The bankers of the world. This one family held so much capital, their reserves were bigger than the budgets of most European states.
Their decisions could make or break emperors.
They did. They were arguably the world's first multinational banking conglomerate, all built on reputation and credit.
So we have this incredible wealth. Let's talk about what that wealth built. How did the city actually look and feel?
Well, just imagine the Hazardwari Palace, the Palace of 1,000 Doors.
A 41-acre, 3-story neoclassical monster.
And here's the detail I love. It actually has 1,000 doors, but 100 of them are fake.
Fake doors. Why?
To confuse intruders, to disorient assassins. It tells you everything about the level of wealth and the paranoia that came with protecting it.
It's not just for show. It's defensive architecture.
Right. And inside you have an 80-foot-high Durbar Hall, massive European chandeliers, and the Masnad, that legendary silver throne.
The one that weighed over 400 pounds.
Studded with gems. This wasn't just spending money, it was curating power and art.
So it became a cultural hub, not just a financial one.
It really did. The Nawabs funded an artistic renaissance. The city's ivory carving workshops were famous worldwide.
I read that artists would spend months on a single tiny piece.
They created these incredible, intricate scenes. And beyond that, the Nawabs started Bengal's first major library and translation center, drawing scholars from as far away as Samarkand.
So it was a true intellectual hub.
A place where Persian, Arabic, and Sanskrit texts were being debated and translated. It was a fusion of ideas.
And that fusion was also religious. The city was known for its tolerance.
It was a core strength. The Nawabs funded beautiful Hindu temples right next to grand Islamic mosques.
And this wasn't just, an afterthought. It was good for business.
It was an economic engine. Armenian and Jewish traders were crucial to the city's success. They brought their global networks.
And that led to this amazing cultural blend.
Yeah.
Hindu artisans working on Islamic designs, Muslim musicians collaborating with Hindu singers.
It was a truly cosmopolitan place. Prosperous, brilliant, harmonious, but it contained the seeds of its own downfall.
And the end came so fast. It was all about one event.
The Battle of Plassey, 1757.
Which, as a battle, was barely anything, right? It lasted just a few hours.
It wasn't won by British military strength. It was decided by betrayal.
Mir Jafar, the Nawab's own commander.
He'd already made a deal with Robert Clive. He held his troops back. Bengal's independence was over in an afternoon.
And what came next wasn't just a change of ruler.
No, it was systematic economic destruction, designed to do one thing: strip Bengal of its wealth and funnel it directly to the East India Company.
And this is where the story gets really dark.
The first target was the textile industry. They forced weavers to sell their cloth only to the company at prices 15 to 40% below market rate.
And if they refused?
The sources are horrific. Weavers who tried to sell their goods on the open market sometimes had their thumbs cut off.
To stop them from ever weaving again.
It was economic warfare designed to eliminate all competition. Utterly brutal.
And the destruction didn't stop with the weavers.
No. The local banking system, the world of the Jagat Seths, was dismantled and replaced by British houses. Bengal's own shipbuilding industry was destroyed by laws that banned the construction of large ocean-going vessels,
forcing everyone to rely on British shipping.
Every piece of the economic machine was broken and replaced.
Until the final blow.
In 1772, Warren Hastings moves the capital to Calcutta.
And that was it.
That was it. It destroyed the entire ecosystem of Murshidabad, the administrators, the merchants, the scholars. All investment, all power was rerouted to the new British center. The old capital was just left to starve.
And the scale of that wealth drain, it's almost impossible to calculate.
Economic historians estimate resources worth trillions in today's money were extracted from Bengal in that first century after Plassey.
And that money funded Britain's Industrial Revolution.
Yes, and here's the most tragic irony. That stolen Bengali revenue was then used to pay for the British military campaigns to conquer the rest of India.
Bengal was forced to finance its own subjugation.
And this brutal extraction led directly to the Bengal famine of 1770, a man-made disaster where millions starved while the company was still exporting grain for profit.
So if a place was this rich, this important, how was it so completely forgotten?
That's the Great Erasure. Colonial historians created a narrative. They painted pre-colonial India as chaotic, poor, and mismanaged. It justified this civilizing mission.
You can't have a city richer than Paris in that narrative. It doesn't fit.
It completely undermines it, so they downplayed it. Official documents understated the economic output. Archives that showed pre-colonial success were neglected. The world's attention was shifted to Calcutta, and Murshidabad just faded away.
So we had this incredible past. What's the reality of Murshidabad today?
It's a heartbreaking contrast. It's now one of West Bengal's most economically backward regions, high unemployment, high migration.
And the crafts, the silk and ivory.
They survive, but only as small, struggling cottage industries. The gap between what it was and what it is. It's a physical reminder of what was lost.
Are any of the grand old buildings still there?
They are. The Hazardewari Palace, the Katra Masjid. They're still standing, though they're fighting against the weather and, a lack of funding. But you can walk through these halls and feel the history of immense power.
But there is hope, right? Local communities are trying to reclaim this history.
They are, and that's the most important part of the story now. Local groups like the Murshidabad Heritage Development Society are running heritage walks, documenting oral histories before they disappear.
And I read some schools are even making it part of the curriculum.
Yes, mandatory heritage education, to make sure the next generation understands their city wasn't always poor, it was made poor.
That's a powerful distinction to make.
It is. The story of Murshidabad is a cautionary tale. It shows how quickly greatness can be turned into obscurity when its systems are broken and its history is rewritten. It's a direct challenge to that old, simple narrative of colonial progress.
So the final thought for you to consider is this. If a city that controlled more wealth than France could be so effectively erased from our collective memory, what other crucial stories, what other major centers of power have been minimized or completely forgotten by the winners of history? If you decide to travel to Murshidabad, we have a recommendation. 5 Senses Tours organizes tours across India, which are immersive cultural experiences. You can email contact@5sensestours.com. Note 5 is written as a numeral in contact at 5sensestours.com or WhatsApp to +919 845 677 446.